Alright, Christians, welcome back. What was that?
It's the key to the car thing.
John waits until this moment to play with his keys. So this is Evan here. It's just me on this little mini-sode for you guys. I have killed Paul and discarded of his body so that the podcast is all mine. And I'm taking over and making all the necessary changes, making it a lot more queer. But honestly, I have a guest with me, John Nelson.
Hello.
Hello. So John is an out and proud gay man, and he is also sober. Woo. Yep, we actually met in sobriety. Yep, thanks to sobriety. So, is this your first time ever on a podcast?
I think it is.
You think it is? There's a lot of them out there. You might get asked on a lot more now that you've been on one. Kind of break the ice out there.
We listen to stuff. I work nights, and my buddy brings his Bluetooth, and we play like different like audiobooks and stuff now. Should put on podcast.
You should put on podcast. There's a lot of good podcasts out there. You have to be careful. Paul was just telling me about, like, he tried to find a new history podcast just, to keep it fresh. And he downloaded it, and they started referring to slaves as African-American immigrants. Good, right?
I'm grateful, like, I'm out and proud at work. My coworkers are good, funny guys. It's the typical, like, the store's closed. There's 5 of us. The humor is inappropriate. But when the store opens at 6, everyone needs to rein it back in.
Yeah, rein it back in. Yeah. So, but there's a lot of good podcasts out there that you can listen to that are like, anything you want, except for I actually have not found a good sobriety podcast. Although Dax Shepard does a podcast,
like,
and he talks a lot.
Tapes and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Books. Yeah, I wish there was a good I'm sure there's something out there. I just haven't found one yet. But like I said, Dax Shepard does talk a lot about sobriety on his podcast. I don't know if you know who Dax Shepard is.
Kristen Bell's husband.
Exactly.
That's how I know you're an actor in your own right. I've seen your movies.
But also Kristen Bell's husband. Yes, that's the best way to describe it. But he does, he's been sober for I think 16 years now. And he talks a lot about sobriety, and he talks specifically about his recovery program. He does not give a shit about anonymity. So
mine doesn't count for much these days anyway.
No,
everyone knew I was drunk too. So
yeah, I think it's harder because, first of all, the stigma of being an alcoholic or an addict it's there, but not in the same way that it used to be, right? If someone found out you're an alcoholic, that doesn't mean you're automatically going to be fired and banned from society. And then also with social media, it's like we put our whole lives out there. But that's a whole argument in itself. So, all right, so we're talking about staying sober in general, but especially during Pride Month. At least for me, I feel like it's difficult. I don't know how it is for you.
I was one of those only gay kid in an all-white bland town. And when I turned 18 and I finally started going out into the gay scene and doing stuff in the gay community, I lost that uniqueness. Yeah. And, that just left me bad eyesight, love handles, and resentful. So I went back to where I was people thought it was cool because I was gay and I fit a role and I could play it. So through my drinking years, I'd end up going to Pride because I was looking for something. Yeah. Whether it was actually to hook up with someone or if it was just to fill an emotional hole, I just needed something to do that night, get out of myself. But at the same time, there was all these horrible, and of course I posted about it on Facebook every year, hate-filled homophobic things that I've gone back and owned, and people were this is really messed up. And it was I hated myself, and seeing other people loving themselves and being happy and expressing that was painful for me because I couldn't do it. And I grew up in a community where I was completely accepted for who I was. I had 99% good experiences coming out. Yeah. And I was the one that couldn't accept that I didn't want to be different. I wanted my life to be easier. I thought this was a burden. Why wasn't everyone treating me the way I thought I should be treated? The ego was absurd. Yeah. And like I tried to be sober for a couple of prides because I was in relationships, and it was very clear that my drinking was an issue already, and it was just massively high anxiety. And that was before I really got sober. And I remember calling my sponsor, who's also gay and in the program, my first year, and saying, like, I kind of want to go to Pride. I have friends going. I think it'll be good for me, like, to get out of myself and experience this. And he was like, you don't have to do it if you don't want to. Like, this, you don't have to do anything. Like, if you want to and you think you're going to be safe, he's like, I'm going to go later. He's like, I'm working till this time, and then I'm going to go with some work friends. I'm going to have some water. And then when I'm tired, I'm going to go home.
Yeah.
He's like, there's different stuff you can do all day. You don't have to stay and like get crazy drunk and do scene things. There's family stuff. There's festival. He's like, it's a day of love and acceptance and celebration. And that's what we do in AA too. Yeah. I'm really grateful that like I'm out in the program, and I've really had no issues with it. I'm sure people have opinions and stuff, but it's Freedom Hall. It's respected. And the last couple of years, my boyfriend's birthday falls on Pride weekend, and like, he's gay, he's out, he's like air quotes gayer than me, but he's also super antisocial. So like we've had so many that like we were stayed in. But, for me, it's a time to reflect on how grateful I am to that, like, I came out to parents who were accepting. I came out in a high school where like I was never judged or bullied. I became more popular after I came out. And my group, I had a great group of friends that like if anyone ever gave me any trouble, they had my back. Not that it ever really happened. And I had all that in sobriety too, which is pretty great. Like it was, I feel bad at Pride Month because like, like I didn't do anything to deserve any of this. Like I kind of just like my cards got played right, and I got lucky. I grew up in a nice town with like my mom was a human resource director at the YMCA. Like it was like all sorts of liberal. And
well, I think that like I can't understand what that's like, but also I'm hearing like Paul, if he didn't grow up in Indiana, would probably be very much like you. Like he had a very accepting family, like for the most part, other than the area that we were in, it was a good feeling, whereas mine was, very different. But, and while, we need to like remember the most marginalized groups in our community, there's also nothing wrong with celebrating, the fact that you get to be who you are, because regardless of whether your coming out was easy or not, you still couldn't marry who you wanted to until a few years ago. You still aren't allowed to adopt in several states. You still have assholes out there that'll try to kill you just because you're gay. So it's not like it's easy. Being a gay white man might be easier than maybe than obviously being a black transgender woman, but there's still a lot of, there's still the stigma. There's still a lot to celebrate, and there's still a lot to march for. Which I do think that was different, because I had on here, one of my questions was, did you think your orientation drove your drinking or your excuse for drinking? Because that was my big excuse. I was like, oh, if I wasn't queer, if I didn't have these problems, if my family was more accepting, I wouldn't drink as much. But then you have this great supportive family. You said you became more popular when you're gay, and you also struggled with addiction. What do you think was like, what behind that?
I just hated myself. The gay was just part of myself. Like I accepted that when I was 15, I came out. Like I knew I had known for a bit. But like, I thought I was too effeminate. Like I thought, like I had all these preconceived notions of like what a man should be and like what a gay man should be. And I was like, well, I'm not masculine enough to be like a straight acting gay, but I'm not gay enough to be like one of the more femme guys. Like I like musical theater, but not that much. Like I'm not good at decorating at all. Some people are like, oh, I can't tell you're gay. And other ones are like, I knew right off the bat. And it was just like not being sure in myself, like feeling, it was another way for me to feel terminally unique. It was another way for me to separate myself from other people. Like your family's not like mine, or you're not the same orientation as me, we're not the same religion, you don't know my struggles. And I mean, it's really not true. I had opportunities everywhere, like to have help with that, and I just didn't want the help yet. I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
My mom brought me to youth pride meetings in Providence that one of our friends helped and volunteered with when I was like 15, 16, because I wasn't driving and I only had gay friends on the internet. There was like one other lesbian girl. I went to high school of 700 people.
Yeah.
And I would sit there and they'd be having like group and like talking about problems. And I'm like, my mom's outside like reading a magazine right now. Like she's so like supportive of me. I don't really have problems. But then they were all in my head. Like
Yeah.
it was that's part of my drinking. Cause like I tell my sister, like looking back on her childhood, it really, really wasn't that bad. Like now that I know like how other people grew up and stuff.
Yeah.
But like I like to play the victim. Being gay was another thing I could play the victim with. Like, oh, poor me, I'm gay. Everything's so much harder for me than you. And I mean, I had it so much better,
Well, then you get
so many
in a
people, and it's
community
like,
where you hear other people. I see. It's interesting because you feel like you lost some of your uniqueness at Pride, and I wanted to lose my uniqueness. I always hated people. Like, I talk about my life a lot now, but like it was just all these questions, and always felt so different and so awkward. And at Pride was the first time that I ever felt, wow, I'm a part of something. So
I hated that. I would joke about that with like other people too. Like I needed like somewhere along the line, whether in childhood or psychologically or just genetically, I was predisposed. Like I found out that attention got me by. Good attention, bad attention. How can I get attention? Being terminally unique got me attention. I could fill a role. I knew what to do to be the gay friend. I had 5 friends. We were super close in high school. We had black matching hoodies that said AD sex family. And it was because we had ADD, but we couldn't get to the last D because we were thinking about sex. It was AD sex. And we all had nicknames, and mine was just gay kid. And I embraced it. And it was like, I could fill that role for people. Like, I didn't know. I felt like everyone else got a life manual, and I was just kind of like floating through and figuring out, like, I can be this or I can be this, like, because I didn't know.
So you feel like it wasn't, you couldn't find yourself because you're just assigned this, like, I don't know what the word is, but like this, like you said, a role. Like you're the gay kid.
Yeah, like
this is your label, and then you just assimilate to that label, and you didn't find yourself.
Getting sober, I had to figure out, like, okay, like, who's John? Like, yes, you're gay. Like, yes, you grew up Episcopal. Don't really do that so much anymore, but great experiences, so I still promote it.
Yeah.
Like, so sobriety, huge part now. It needed to be because drinking was such a huge part, but like, what kind of son am I? What kind of brother do I want to be? What kind of employee do I want to be? That like took some bumpy roads to figure out, like, and like, what kind of friend do I want to be? And like, so much of it is just how am I treating myself? Am I taking care of myself? I have to remember I'm worth taking care of today. It's still weird talking about that. Like, I went back to college in sobriety because I guess I'm intelligent. I'm so down on myself, it still feels weird talking about it. But other people said it to me. My sponsor was very like, you're intelligent, you shouldn't stock shelves the rest of your life, which you do. It's good union work, no complaints. But like, and I can go to school and get good grades, and like I can do these things. Like, if I want something, I can work on it and get better, and if I don't want to, I don't have to. I also like dropped out of school last semester because I really hate chemistry. But like, I can take Japanese next semester if I want. Like, I'm finally financially independent, which felt nice, but like I just had to learn to budget properly and like do things like and stuff. But like sobriety's given me the freedom to like learn how to be a person again, like to live, because I was just drinking so much before. And living with being gay, like, I'm free to be me. If I want to wear like weird t-shirts, I'll wear weird t-shirts. If I want to get a giant stuffed Snorlax beanbag, I will. Like, there's a wall of Funko Pops at my house. It's like Nerd Central. I don't care. Like, it's like acceptance was a big thing we talked about today at a meeting I went to. And like, I can accept being gay today. I can accept being sober. Like, and that opens the world up to so many possibilities because I'm not scared anymore. I'm not scared of the repercussions of things, or I'm not playing stuff out in my head. Like, you know, sometimes bad stuff happens and it sucks. Yeah, I deal. But, like, I'm really grateful today that, like, you know, like, I live in a building in Warwick. We have gay neighbors. Like, I can go out and, like, hold hands with my boyfriend when we walk around. Like, sometimes people, like, maybe looks, but, like, nobody's doing anything. Like, it's June, it's a nice month, and, you know, pride.
So those first 6 months that you were sober, what did you do? I feel like, I mean, the first year is tough, but those first 6 months, I feel it's like you're crawling out of your skin.
God bless. I had a couple, like, and I still do have a really couple supportive friends that, like, I've had since, like, high school and stuff that are, like, normal people that are just, like, we're really, really glad you don't drink. We love you. So, like, they would not drink around me and hang out with me. We could go to movies. I got really into I keep a 55-gallon aquarium, and I was just hanging out at Critter Hut in North Kingstown, like, every day, like, spending, like, $1 or $2 on stuff, and, like, I'll be back tomorrow. And, lots of hiking, which I know, like, a lot of, like, other, like, I know there's, like, gay groups that, like, go out and, like, go hiking and stuff. I should join one.
I'm always like, I should join this group.
Social.
So, I know. It's so hard for me.
The internet's good. There's, like, little secret gay Facebook groups and stuff for sober people. And, like, it's nice to, like, connect in the community, and, you know, there's meetings specifically for that too. I don't get to those, unfortunately, in my weird schedule.
But I think a lot of people don't know. I mean, at least in Rhode Island, every area is going to be different, but more areas are starting to have, they'll either call them gay meetings or they call them LGBTQ meetings. But, like, if you look up, you know, either whether Smart Recovery or AA, they'll have, like, queer specific meetings, which can also be helpful. For me in the beginning, that's what I went to because I felt too uncomfortable to go to a regular meeting. I was too afraid of what would happen. I found out nobody really cared, but in the beginning, I was like, well, I have to go to this LGBTQ meeting because if I go anywhere else, who knows what's going to happen. Did you have any, like, fear when you first started going to meetings that you were going to be, like, discriminated against or have problems because you're gay?
Thankfully, no, because I've always had a bit of a bullheaded attitude about, like, F them if that's, like, that's their problem.
So
like,
that's the one thing about being an alcoholic addict, where you already had that fuck you attitude. So it helps.
And my sponsor's, like, a former drag queen, very flamboyant, large personality, and, like, nobody ever, like, nobody there is mean, and if it is, it's not tolerated. Like, acceptance and tolerance and love is the code. People can have opinions, but, like, we're free to be ourselves there. And, you know, the first 6 months was scary. I am really grateful I got a gay sponsor because AA does this whole men with men, women with women thing, which, like, I get it. Like, when it was set up, like, it's to try and keep people focused on helping each other and not, like, helping each other. You know? But, like, when it comes to, like, being gay or, like, other stuff, like, who do you end up with? Like, I'm not supposed to be sleeping with my sponsor. That was the point of me having someone that was the same sex, but I'm gay, but a woman can't really entirely understand what it's like to be a gay man. So, like, thankfully there's a bit of an age gap too, and he's very respectful, and it's like he said it was like attempted parenting at one point. Like, he looks at me like a challenging child, and, but, like, that's there too. Like, people will, like, direct you to other people that can help you. Like, I know people have asked me for help, and I was like, I can't help you for whatever reason, but I know this person that can, that maybe their story is more similar, or, like, they've been through the same things you've been through, and they'll know what you can do. It's such a, like, open hand community.
Yeah. My suggestion to a person in the beginning would, especially if you're queer and you don't know where you, because it's with sponsorship, it's very gender rolled. And for me, I had the same questions when I went in, because I was like, okay, well, like, I hadn't come out as a transgender man yet, so I was living as a lesbian, and I was like, okay, well, am I supposed to have a woman sponsor? And early on, I met this girl who had been sober for about 2 years, definitely had a crush on her. And I was like, toying with asking her to be my sponsor. Like we were meeting up for coffee and everything, and I was about to ask her, and in my mind I knew, don't ask this person to be your sponsor. That's not what you want from this person. And so I ended up finding this woman who was like in her 60s and looked like my grandmother. And I asked her to be my sponsor, and that was really good for me because now I could just focus on my sobriety. So that would be a good thing. Like if you don't know where you fall, the thing is find someone who challenges you, find someone you respect, and find someone that you know you're not going to want any other kind of relationship for them. That would be my suggestion. I don't know if you agree with that or...
Definitely.
Yeah.
And it's not a role that you're ever locked into, which is nice.
That's nice
I've
too.
been with the same guy since day one, but like,
Yeah.
you know, he's been very clear. I can leave at any time I want.
Yeah.
We'll still be friends, but you know,
Yes.
you can ask other people for advice. It's okay. It's not.
I had a friend call me and they were asking questions about AA, and they were like, well, you know, what if they assign me a sponsor that I don't like?
You're not getting married.
Exactly. And I was like, so there's a lot of misconceptions. Like, no, you don't, nobody assigns you a sponsor. Once in a while, you'll have some asshole that comes up and is like, I'm going to be your sponsor. You know, just listen to me.
Say no.
Exactly. That's what people don't realize. Like,
no means no.
No means no. Yeah. You can choose your sponsor, and at any time it's not working for you, you leave. I had one person who was briefly my sponsor for about 3 months, and it was nothing against this person. They were very good, but they just didn't have what I needed that moment, and I went to someone else. And I felt guilty because I was like, should I just be changing sponsors like this? But I needed something else. And now my sponsor that I've been with for 2.5 years. So the majority of my sobriety, I've been with this person. So didn't you just celebrate 4 years?
Yeah.
That's
5-1-3.
5-1-3. Nice.
It was like 8 days after my 26th birthday. It was the last like tires squealing out of that weekend.
That's
like,
the time to do it.
This is definitely not working. I had known since my 25th birthday that it
Yeah.
wasn't working. And
Yeah.
I remember making the mental note. I tried to get sober in June after I turned 25.
Mm-hmm.
And so like 5 years ago, like right about now. And like I was like, this might take a little bit. This might be a little bit bumpy. You're gonna be 30 in 5 years. We should probably start working on this.
Yeah.
Like it might take a little while.
It's I always say, like, from within the first couple months that I started drinking, I started trying to stop, and you know, that was almost 7 years later before I finally stopped. So it takes a long time. So because people are going to be out in Pride, if you're going to Pride, so my first thing would be like, you don't have to go to Pride, as you said earlier, John. You don't have to go to Pride if it's not good for your sobriety. I know it sucks sometimes, but in the beginning we have to do what's best for us, you know.
There's always next year. It'll be okay. People understand.
We've been doing this for 50 years. Yeah. I think we're going to do it again next year. But if you are going to go to Pride, what are your tips for if you're around people that are drinking? There's alcohol everywhere. Your friends are drinking. What have you done in situations like that?
Bring your own drink. Mm-hmm. Do not put it down.
Yeah, watch your drink.
Be very clear. Like, I'm always clear if I'm going. I don't go alone. I normally go with a group of people. Yeah. People that know that I'm sober, that like are aware. Like, accidental drinks happen. Technically, they don't count as a relapse as long as you start there. I've heard terrible people get like a gin and tonic instead of just a seltzer by accident.
Yeah.
And, you know, like,
I always sniff my drink before I always.
I had someone say they give it to their partner first and they give it a sip just
my
to
wife,
check.
My wife also checks my drink.
Like, it's not going to hurt anyone. Like, you can.
Yep.
So, like, just guard yourself. Like, no, most people don't care anyway, and most people aren't noticing what you're doing anyway. They're focusing on what they're doing. I always bring my own car in case I need to leave, or if I am going with someone that understands it, says like, hey, like, it's getting a little bit too late. I'm too tired. I don't feel well. You know, I text people in the program. I say, this is what I'm doing today and where I'm going. Yeah. You can text me while I'm there. Like, I'll send you pictures, like, check in on me, like, stay connected. Like, I don't want to go out into the wilderness of any event, like weddings, like all sorts of stuff. Yeah. Like, I got to take care of my sobriety. No one else is going to. Yep. It's totally like, I ask for help and I get it. But at the end of the day, like, I'm the one that's got to say, like, hey, I'm doing this today and I'm a little bit nervous. Like, so, like, keep an eye on me.
Exactly. This will be my 4th Pride, and what I've done every time I've gone to any event, if it's a wedding, if it's like Pride, if it's anything where I'm going to be around a lot of alcohol, I always tell my sponsor. And it has nothing to do with whether or not I'm worried about drinking. I always just say, hey, I'm going to be at Pride. There's going to be a lot of alcohol. We're probably going to go to the block party after. I'm just letting you know what I'm doing today. In case I need, I think it makes her aware in case I'm going to need to reach out. Yeah. And it just lets people know, because when I'm hiding what I'm doing, that's a big red flag. It could be very benign. What I'm doing isn't wrong, but why am I hiding it?
When I'm not telling my boyfriend I sneak out to play Pokemon Go, I know that it's bad. I know there would be judgment.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. So I mean, so we're gonna wrap it up in just a minute, but what I want to leave on is, so remember, as John said, check in with someone, talk to people, friends that are sober. If you're not in a program, I'll get to that in a second, but I suggest you get in a program. Bring your own drink, bring some candy or something sweet, something that you can keep. Gum. Yeah. Keep something in your mouth, something in your hand. Usually if you have something in your hand, people aren't going to offer you a drink. And it's very rare that you're going to find an asshole that's trying to get you to drink. Once in a great while.
You can say, no, thank you, I'm on medication.
I'm on medication. You can say, I'm allergic. You can say, I'm not feeling well.
I'm the designated driver.
Exactly. I'm in training. There's a million reasons that you can say. You don't have to tell someone that you're sober. So keeping things on you, keep Uber on your phone if you need to get out of a situation, or have a friend on speed dial that'll pick you up. Have a way to escape, whether it's your car, whether it's a bus pass, have a way to escape out of that situation. And then the last thing is, if you're worried, if you're wondering, is my drinking or drugging getting out of hand? What would you suggest, John?
I mean, we have an office called Intergroup that you can call that has information available. You can find that information online. There's actually a lovely website now, aanri.com, that has a ton of information for people who are just curious, even information about others. There's an app now. It's just called Meeting Guide. It looks like a folding chair that you can download on your phone that has all this information. It's if you can just go and check out a meeting. I've had they're open meetings. They're open to everyone. I've had non-alcoholic friends just come because they were curious, or people just coming to be supportive. Or I know a lot of nursing students go to some as part of their program to come and check out this is a thing that we're going to be working with. People are mostly open and honest. They're there to help you and give you information. Alcohol is everywhere. Alcoholism is everywhere. It affects us. Sometimes I think it's kind of beautiful how it affects us so indiscriminately. It's just everyone can be an alcoholic, age, race, gender, it just affects us all spectrums. Yeah. And, if you can get to a meeting, someone will help you. If you just want to find information online, there's a lot of that too. But if you're worried about your drinking, you're the only one at the end of the day that can say if you're an alcoholic or not. Exactly. Nobody can decide for you. We even have literature, and it says in there, you can self-diagnose, but it's up to you. We do 20 questions on the back of our little meeting book, and, I still think some of those are rigged. But
I know. When I took that test the first time, I was like, who passes this test? But you know what? My wife took that test, and she answered, one question on that whole thing. And then I was just like, you know what?
My boyfriend can do the same, but he's also weird about I just choose not to drink because I don't really like it, and I used to and I can, but I choose not to. And I'm you're a strange human being. I don't understand how that it's really just.
Samantha will drink. She'll drink, have a couple drinks for a week. She might have a drink every night, and then she'll put it down. She won't drink for a month.
I have a best friend who's very, very health oriented, and he's also what I would say is a beer snob, winos. He's all ooh, this fancy craft beer, blah blah blah, and he's we'll have 2 and a water, and that's all I can have for the next 2 days because calories. And I was why?
Wow.
How do you just?
How do you just moderate like that?
I know.
Yeah. My moderation was either I don't do it or I do it all the way, 100%. I will say, if you look online, if you're not in Rhode Island, wherever you're at, there's going to be AA online. There's also Smart Recovery, which is a smaller program, doesn't have as many meetings out there, but they have a lot of online meetings. I think that one of the not the problems, but one of the assumptions about AA is, you have to believe in a God. There's, they're going to force gender roles on you. And I can't promise that there's no assholes wherever you go, but I'm going to say that there are a lot of meetings that are going to respect you for the individual you are. So if you're non-binary, if you're transgender, gay, straight, whatever, there's going to be people that accept you, and there's going to be a lot of, like we said, there's a lot of queer-oriented meetings now where you can find some help. And most importantly, you have to get better. So, I mean, sometimes I've sat in a meeting and I've gritted my teeth at things that people have said. But as a whole, the program has helped me, and I'm a proud out transgender atheist, and I've managed to make this program work for me. So I just think it can work for anyone. I don't know. That's just me.
I do you'll hear people say it and it'll laugh, but we're people who would not normally mix, and you find ways to things like, I know an old, he would be so mad if I said old, but Irish construction worker, he's I don't have a good high school education, tough guy, and he's we have tons in common because we can talk about our feelings and emotions. And he was I would have never met or hung out with you or bumped into you in the real world. That never would have happened. But you meet such a wide variety of people, and you find out we all do have stuff in common.
Yeah, exactly. We do. And if you are open to help, there are people that will help you. That's the one thing. These are people that want to help because they've been in your situation. They really do want to help you. And you might have some hurdles to jump through, but it's better than living in that hell of addiction. So reach out. You can reach out to the podcast. You guys know how to get a hold of us on Facebook, Twitter. Email yourqueerstory@gmail.com. You can always reach out. We can direct you. Or look in your area for some of the programs. There's some other programs, but Smart Recovery and AA are the two biggest ones where you're probably going to find resources nearby. Find something that works for you. Don't keep staying in that addiction. And do you have anything you want to say at the end, John?
Happy Pride and love yourself. We can't love ourselves until...
Go ahead, say the RuPaul thing. You can't love yourself. Go ahead, say it.
How the hell are you gonna love anybody else?
That's right.
It's so true. It hits you. It's so true.
It's true. All right, so
Mamaru.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on, John. And guys, like we said, this is a mini-sode, so we'll be back with our regular episode. On Wednesdays like we do every week. So stay queer. Don't get a little bottomy. We love you little sodomites. And bye.